So I'm now pretty sure that this is probably not the original switch. And I mean, I kind of imagined that when I first bought the fan, but until I had it apart, you can kind of see that this is a little more modern. It's been in here a while, but this is all doctored up. In fact, there's a real funny little piece of work here. The black cloth wire has a little tiny piece of plastic cover wired, and it's wrapped in as they did. It's not soldered in, I don't think. It's sort of jammed all the way up, or maybe these are plastic cloth covered. I don't know. This is weird. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, this stuff's all old and whack, so we're going to want to get this dealt with. As you can hear in the background, it's Memorial Day, and they got the parade going on down there, but we got our own parade going on up here. This is how I'm dialing this up, or writing this up rather. I've got A, B, C, which are the terminals that stick up, 1, 2, 3, as you see, and then we've got our 6 around the outside, which I'm numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I marked it all on the housing so that I know what the F is going on. You can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and B and whatever. So that's how I'm looking at it, and I'm just going to mark where everything goes. Still have to decide if I'm going to rewire this all the way back, or if I can pull it up to here. This is all so brittle, it really is not pleasant. So once I guess I'll have to decide that soon. So that's the deal. Alright, I got my map made of where everything goes. For the switch deal, power return, then 4, 5, 6, there's 3 bypass wires that go from one place to another on here. There's a black, a white, and a blue, and they're actually newer plastic covered, so I might be able to leave those. We'll see how it all comes together. If not, we'll just cut new ones, make new ones. It's not a big deal. It all seems to be stranded wire. I don't have any solid thin gauge wire, but I think what I have will work for this. And I think I'm just going to cut the harness here and try and keep this intact for now. Maybe the next time we go through the fan, we would do all of the... I'm just not ready yet on this machine to go ahead and rewire to the leads. We'll see how bad it looks once we get inside here. So that's sort of our deal, but I'm going to cut it right about here. There we go. And we'll see what happens next. Being a Westinghouse, it's got the indentation for the rounded off set screw, kind of a locking set screw situation, but this one, as you can see, has popped out. This has got some damage. And is not feeling too good around here. So we're not sure what to make of that, but we'll see if the motor comes apart nonetheless. We might have to hit this with some emery cloth or even a file, because this is a little rough here. We'll see how it goes. All right, here we are with the last of the 3 screws for the Westinghouse motor, hex motor. Huge, it seems really heavy. It's the best view I can get you and keep the majority of my fat belly out of the way of the shot. Let's make a little witness marking just so that we know where we are. Next, we'll try and take this apart. Let's see if the front half comes off. And it does. But it doesn't want to come off of the rotor. That's kind of what I was a little worried about. Well, the whole rotor's going to come out. Leave that there for now. Yeah, it's pretty locked in there. Don't like that. We'll have to see. We can clean a little further, and maybe it'll come off. If not, we might not be able to make that come off of there. That might be stuck the way it is. So let's take a look at pretty big heavy rotor. No washers. I don't see any. That might be a washer, but well, maybe there are washers here. I can't really see too much. Oh, here we go. All right, so that did come off. So we're going to get to cleaning. I might fast forward through some of this. And we'll see what comes next for this motor. There are screws that hold in, apparently. I was wondering what that's for. That hold in this oiler mechanism thing. Interesting. I'm not going to take it apart. I'm just going to clean the bearing and oil. Alright, so now we take the back half off and try not to damage anything. Much worse on the back side. We're going to clean him off. Alright, I found the reason for all the end play, the front to back play that it has. These Westinghouses had an interesting setup. The later one, Mobile Air, had it too. It had this little cap and a cork washer that went under this, and these have both disintegrated. On this side I found only this, and now just as I was cleaning the housing I knocked off and lost the other one right there. I'm not going to be able to get down to that. Maybe a magnet will grab it, but I don't have high hopes for that. And at that point I'm not going to make a cork washer, so I'm probably going to leave this out. I'll probably look for some other washers to use for spacing, moron, as opposed to the cap and cork, because I'm not going to have the ability to make a little piece of cork to go in there. So this cleaned out a little bit. This looks like it's worse inside on this side, the grommet, or not the grommet, but it's dirty in there. So I'm going to see if I can clean that a little bit more, and we'll see what happens. We might have to take this apart and clean out that material inside there. It's like a foamy stuff to hold oil, and we'll see what happens. This is the rear housing, and it was pretty bad. I got a lot of the black. There was all this black gunk. I suspect some of it was the cork, the little washer thing that disintegrated over the years, but there was all this stuff in there. Pretty not good. And there were two of these little plastic washers, but they're disintegrating. I kept rubbing the sides, and it's like a crayon. They're coming apart like a crayon. So this is as much as I can do. I'm going to continue cleaning the bearing with alcohol, let it dry up so that we can oil it and put it back together. I think I got it clean. I mean, as clean as I can get it for today without taking it all the way apart. So that's our deal. So here we are with the rotor. Pretty substantial piece of work here. Front's not so bad, but the back is pretty bad, as you can see. So we're just going to very lightly dust off what dust we can remove. I have in the past used air for this. I would say that it's not my favorite method. I don't have a compressor, but I had used a few air cans you can get at the old Best Buy or whatever. I'm going to flip this over. And that worked pretty good, except on the Arctic air. It was blowing off the shellac off the windings, which I didn't like. So maybe in some ways that's the best process, maybe in other ways it's not. I don't know. I don't know, man. So we're just doing our best to dust off what we can. Not going too crazy. And obviously air might be able to get through, you know, but we're not that super worried about it. We just want to make it nice so that it's not blowing 70 years of someone else's dust all over our house. That's a part of it. So there she is. I think that's pretty good for now. Okay, we're taking a closer look at the rotor here. It's got these big large pins that meet to these locators on the housing. Pretty interesting setup, and I think it centers the bearing all once you tighten it down. It doesn't seem you know, the other one that I did, which was the little plastic guy, it didn't need to be tap tap tap, like it's like lined up ready to go, which I thought was kind of interesting. So that's how that works. You can see like an older motor, you've got your leads that come around and then go through, and that's where they come out for your head wire, if you will. Everything looks good here. I don't dislike any of this. So we'll pull it apart and we'll wire it with some new wire and shrink wrap everything as far up as we can. There's no grommet or anything. This just literally goes through one of the large openings. So that's how they did it. So interesting motor. We're going to get it back together. I just improvised myself a little air gun and shot some air through to get whatever little dust bunnies were in there out of there from the other side. It seemed to have worked pretty good. The rotor's okay. The bearing areas on the shafts are not great. There's some indentation here. We're obviously missing that whole washer setup. This is the rear side. This is fairly smooth, and the bearing itself looks pretty good. Now, I've said that before and been wrong, but that's how that is. The other side, however, has got some damage. You can even see, you can literally see the low spots. This is a groove right here. There's a groove here. The bearing area is like here. It's not that bad. There's no, your fingernail doesn't catch anywhere here. But outside at the end, there's a pretty notable spot. And then we've got this rough area here. So, you know, those blades might have spun on here. That's pretty bad right there. But it's all been cleaned. I didn't hit it with any I just cleaned this with the WD-40 and a rag just to get it cleaned off. It doesn't have any hollows, so there's no dirt in it. And we'll be ready to rock on this. So we're here with the Westinghouse Riviera motor, and we're just going to put it back together. We can't test run it because we're going to have to wire it up to the dealie. I'm not going to try to test it like that, but we want to get it together and safe. We can't start reassembling anything anyway. I still got to clean the blades, and I washed the housing out. It's drying in the yard there. Make sure that's totally dry before we start doing anything anyway. So that's the deal. That's the plan. Stay tuned. We're just going to quickly put this together and see if it runs free. I oiled, let me switch it around. So I oiled in there in the cavity where the oiler deal is on each side. I'm not going to over oil here at this time because I did drop some oil in when I first got it. But we cleaned out all the gunk and it seems to be okay. So we'll hit some oil on the rotor and we'll start reassembling this thing. Now, we still need thrust washers. We're not going to forget about that, but for now, I really want to get this thing together. I have one or two motors I might be able to take a thrust washer off of, but at this time, I'm not ready to do that. So we're just going to put this back together. We want to get the thrust washers in there, but for now, we just want to get this back together. We'll think on that when we have time to think on it. Okay, so rear housing. Okay, looking for our witness marks. Oh, crap, I don't want that to happen. One. Two. And three. Even better that way. Tightened it up a little more and it's even better. So let's give it one more squeeze here. Make sure that's a good spin down. Let's make sure it's nice and tight here. One. 2, and 3. And look at that. That's nice. So that's what we're looking for. Now, we're going to have way too much play this way. That should not move so far. We really want it to be right about there. So we'll have to search out some lock washers. Maybe sacrifice a motor if we can find the right size, because that's way too much movement. We don't want that moving. There's nothing for it to hit, but it could cause the blades to hit inside the housing. Yeah, that's dragging there. That's not good. So we want to get some lock washers in this, but at least for now it's back together and safe. We're going to call it for today because we got to wait for the housing to dry out. So that's our deal. All right, one little final step on that was to clean the handle a little bit. Still got some discolorations. You know, it's really just 2 pieces of plastic screwed together. There's no structure at all to this, really. You're lucky that this doesn't fall. You know, it's amazing this never broke. That's all I'm saying. So I got a little of the gunk cleaned off of it so that it just looks a little more gray. And then we look at the blades, and it came out okay. I mean, as much as you can really do. I used a little steel wool and WD-40 to get the grease off of the metal hub. And same on the back. As you can see, this has been beat up a little bit. I think that, you know, that it was loose on the shaft at some point in its life. So there you are. There's the blades for the big Westy Riviera and the handle ready to go. So we're just waiting for 2 things. We've got to rewire it, and then we've got to get the housing dried out. So that's what we're doing over the next couple days. So thanks for watching this series on this fan. It's a pretty cool fan. I'm looking forward to get it going. One of the things we need most is we need spacer washers for the motor, because we really don't want to run it like that. So that's our deal. Thanks for watching.